Hello and welcome to the World Changemaker podcast, where we have engaging conversations with everyone from entrepreneurs to advocates. I'm your host, Cinnamon Alvarez. Be ready to get inspired because our guest today is going to share their story, insights, and golden nuggets with us about how they're making a meaningful difference in people's lives and in our communities. If you like what you hear today, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And while you're there, leave us a review. Hello, and welcome to the World Changemaker podcast, where we aim to ignite some passion in fellow world changemakers. I am your host, Cinnamon Alvarez, and I am joined with Robin today. We're going to use first names. So if you hear Cinnamon, you can call me Cinnamon, and you can call Robin Robin. And Robin is here to inspire us. She has a life that I think almost everyone says they want, but not everyone actually lives this life. So, Robin, can you start just by telling us a little bit about your business? And it's your whole life, right? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, you put it in a good way, right? When you create your business, there's a lot of you and your life in it. Um, sure. So, again, I'm Robin. I'm the founder of Our Connected World. I'm a mentor, a speaker, and an educator. I'm really big on teaching others and people around the world, first of all, how to earn income online. So from anywhere, so that they can travel more, they can relocate. They're not geographically bonded to any specific place, so they can see more of the world. And I also teach Spanish and Italian to help others immerse in a Spanish and Italian speaking. I mean, Italy is the only Italian speaking country, but you know what I mean. And I think it, as you said, it all has to do with my story, right? I've traveled a lot. I've traveled across over 40 countries. I've lived in 8 countries. I'm currently I went through a lot of different travel lifestyles, if you want to call them that way, right? From being a student, working holiday, expat, and now I call myself an immigrant because I'm more permanently here in Canada. But I'm originally Italian.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Where are you from?
Sorry, I was like, I forgot the name.
So, our connected world, tell me about what inspired you to start this business.
So COVID was probably the first time in my life where, all the moving around, changing cities, changing country kind of stopped as for everybody else, just in
Mhm.
general. And I really had the time to slow down. And by slowing down, well, between going a bit crazy in a sense, right? You can't go anywhere. But in a way, like it really helped me understand, okay, beyond my career, like my career is in marketing, my background is in marketing. What do I want to do? Like there was something more. I started craving to more introspection, more understanding what I want to do. And I had been tutoring Spanish and Italian for a long time. And then I started a podcast actually at the time. It's not on anymore, but I started interviewing people because I was like, I need to hear people's stories because I'm not traveling anymore. So I need to find another way. And combining that, language teaching and being able to connect online with people no matter where they are, I started to really think about, okay, wait a second, like I can have an impact from wherever I am. And I started really enjoying creating my own thing, right? Creating my own program, supporting others in a way that wasn't just told by, my boss or something like that. And so the
Mhm.
entrepreneurial spirit started to spark. And then hearing, I had a lot of guests with a lot of different projects on their hands, a lot of different interesting topics from environmental to social topics. And I was like, oh my God, like, having a platform where you can share those voices too and empower others. And so it grew, and it went from, just podcast host and a teacher, language teacher, to creating more of the brand of what Our Connected World is now, with different programs all about, travel, online income, and immersing in other countries. But yeah, and it kind of, that's what it sparked. I think just knowing the impact you can have independently of where you are was what started it.
I love it. And if you don't mind, I want to like sometimes I'll be repeating some things that you said because they're things that I want to really resonate with our audience. And so what I found really profound about what you just shared and what I do myself too is that when I really want something available for myself, That's what I love about entrepreneurship is I find a way to make it happen. And there's so many benefits from it. One, it comes to fruition. It actually, the vision, and I saw too that you bring your vision to reality. There's no better way to bring your vision to reality than to put yourself in the hot seat leadership role.
Yeah, that's very
And
well said.
and it does it for accountability. So like just recently I became a Zumba instructor because I'm like, I feel like I don't have access to a really great class enough that I want to attend. So
Yeah.
here we go. So
Oh, I
so
love that.
tell me if it does that resonate as true for you in some I think
Definitely,
and I want to
definitely.
give advice to our audience to keep that in mind is that somebody like your clients, what would you tell them about having the life that they want?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think, like what I've learned about, working with people again, with people from a lot of different backgrounds and living in different countries, there's always a first fear, right? And a first imposter syndrome, which I mean, that's something that I feel
Mm,
everybody at any phase in time will always have to deal with. But really, that there's that external noise that has been there for a lot of them, a lot of us, when we first start this kind of journey, that tells you everything of why it wouldn't work, right? And
mhm,
so I think that's the first thing that we work on. That's the first thing that I feel really also adamant about on changing that mindset shift of like, okay, but how could it work? Instead of saying like, oh, it doesn't work, like why not? And if not, why do you think that? And how can you make it work? There's so many options. Like one thing about living in a lot of different places, having, also the career I've had. I mean, my career hasn't been like A to B. Like I studied psychology, ended up in marketing, did a lot of like hospitality work as well, like events, right? Like it's
yeah.
it's all over there, right? And being an entrepreneur, so having to also learn a lot about that kind of path, it really shows you, wait a second, there's, if anything, there's an overwhelming amount of information you got to navigate. But there is, once you like change your mindset, there is a, I always call it like, you open those doors just by changing the way you think about it and the way you approach those roadblocks, that you open the door and you realize, wait a second, actually there's a blank canvas. So I got to think about like what I want that blank canvas to be, instead of thinking, what I can't do and what I shouldn't do because somebody else thinks it. So I think
Mhm.
that's the very first roadblock to, overcome when you first start and when you're first thinking of starting to live the life you want. The thing is, like, it's possible. It's work, it's effort. There's resources out there, there's support systems out there. Put yourself in that room and you'll see that there's a way to happiness and living your life you want.
I love it. So I hear you saying, that there's a lot of it is mindset. I call it limiting beliefs. But
Right.
speaking of roadblocks specifically, because we want to know that you're real, like this is really possible. Tell us about a roadblock that you've overcome and what came out of it.
Well, I think it was definitely like limiting beliefs, as we said, right? I
Mm,
think when I first started, I was just overwhelmed. Like as a multi-passionate, and this is something I actually found a lot of people are multi-passionate, right? We are
mhm,
people with a lot of different interests, and especially I would say people with an entrepreneurial tendency. We're curious, we have a lot of ideas. If anything, we have a lot of monkey mind, right? And so for
mhm.
me, that was really difficult. Again, I'm like, okay, I have this I'm really passionate about. There's also like I love, acting and like music and dancing. Like I would love to like teach dancing or something.
Oh, you
But then
can.
exactly, like, right, and I could, but then it was like, okay, but this business what I want it to be. And so it took me a while, and in the online world, it was always like, okay, this is the one way you can make money, right? And it's always like this one person telling the one framework to make, I don't know, 10K overnight.
Mhm,
And at first I feel like I kind of fell for that for sure. And then I slowly had to take a step back and really look at it's called ikigai. Like I didn't come up with this concept. It's a Japanese concept, but I love this exercise because it helped me so much overcome this first roadblock of understanding and navigating my multi passions, and kind of extracting from there what my business could be and removing a bit of overwhelm. And why I love it so much and why I have my clients always do this exercise as well as when in the foundation phase of the programs is because what a big learning was, not everything I'm passionate about is necessarily what I am, good at, what I would do every day, no matter what's happening, and I would be happy to do it every day, no matter what's happening. And also,
Mhm.
third, a more realistic kind of, pieces what people would pay me for, right? Like that's the thing, like the difference
Mhm.
between something you're just passionate about and something that you're trying to build also because that you want that to be your online income, right? And so finding that sweet spot where it's something you are passionate about, you're good at, you can upscale. There's always more to learn. I mean, don't expect to know everything. Like nobody
Yeah.
is, right? I always say you need to be that one step further than somebody else in order to help them. You don't need to be down 20 steps, right? To have impact on somebody. It can be your story, it can be your own transformation so far to help whoever is in the spot you were even like a month ago, right? Um, and then yeah, what does the world need, right? There is some market research. I don't think people should go fully blind in what they're creating, and that took a while to learn because there's a lot of secret frameworks out there. But I find this is such a removing overwhelm way, especially for people who are multi-passionate.
Mhm. Do you mind giving the name of that process again, the Japanese process, and spelling it for us?
Ikigai.
How do you spell it?
IKI
Uh-huh.
GAI.
Yeah, it's so great. So you've said again so many things. Is I think that we're in the monkey mind. Usually I think of monkey mind like my internal chatter, but also yeah, all of these distractions with digital age, and I'm hungry for all of it, navigating it. But you're talking about what would people pay me for? I want to highlight that. What does the world need?
Yeah.
And the impact on someone's life. Because I think we share so many passions, but a lot of people are looking to make money. Um, they don't want to work for someone else. They might want to just travel the world, and then they might not understand why they aren't really happy still.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I personally think that there's that disconnect of the work that we do makes a difference in the world and makes people's life better. And I don't have guilt if people are throwing money at me if I'm giving generously. And then I go, and a big part of the reward and everything that I do is not actually the money, but it's knowing that, or thinking, believing, right? Honoring the part that yearns to make a positive difference in the world. Because sometimes we're successful and we're not successful. Um, and what I've noticed about your history too is that you have done a lot of things to be able to have this lifestyle that you enjoy. And so I was hoping you could talk about that too, because especially with younger people, they might think they need it all figured out.
Mhm.
And I think that everything is transferable. Every experience will lead to that next thing. So do you mind talking about any of those things I just talked about and expanding on them?
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, you're so on point. I really agree with all of it. I really agree with the importance of our work, right? I think the impact our work has is part of also how we feel fulfilled, right? Being able to have the job enabling the life you want, that's one side, but also knowing that you have an impact, knowing you wake up and you don't mind doing that job. I think that is really like where everybody's trying to get to, and it's a win in that sense of a win in that fulfillment journey that you're on. um and as per the last part, that's exactly it. I see this is part of those limiting beliefs and external noise, right? A lot of cultures around the world, no matter Western, Eastern, there is a bit of that, let's call it societal formula. You go to school, you go to uni, yeah, everybody strives to like to go to uni, so you try to do that, and then you get a job, and then you have a
Mhm.
family, buy a house, I don't know which order, but anyway, and then kids, and
Two
right,
kids,
and that
1.5 kids, and
exactly, exactly.
whatever the statistic currently is.
There you go, right? And that's what was defined as success for the longest time in a lot of the cultures, in the majority of the cultures. And I think with the newer generations and the newer, just generally, like also just globalization, like seeing that people live in different ways, and there's a lot of different perspectives on the same, concept as such as happiness. Um, I think people have started to just think differently. And I do think that, like even just the pandemic, I mean, it's not the best topic, but I do think that seeing that you can do jobs remotely as well and online, I think that changed people's perspective of like, oh my God, the world stopped. So what do I really want to do? Am I happy? I think there's been a bit of introspective journeys for the majority of everybody because of the gravity of the situation and the gravity of like how everybody was blocked, right? And so I think, yeah, there's just been a shift in how we see all of this. And the reason why I think like it's good is because of my story. What I've learned is nothing is set in stone. Like your choice to, I don't know, go to Mexico and volunteer for a year in Mexico is not gonna make it impossible for you to then, I don't know, if you want to be a consultant in a corporation or you want to build your own agency and consultancy. Oh my God, because I did 1 year of volunteering in Mexico, that's never gonna happen. No, you learn, and especially if you want to travel, especially if you want to explore the world and really you know, do this kind of new experiences and understand yourself, and you're open to learning different things, understand what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want. This is all building towards what you ultimately want to do and you're going to be happy about doing. Like if you look at my life, but a lot of other people's lives, it's never A to B, and it's and that's the beauty of it. Imagine how boring it would be. It's like, oh, this is it, yeah, I totally know the next steps, like everything is so clear, and like, sure, like this is what I got to do, and so I'll just do it. No, like it needs to be like something like super bad to be set into, like you could murder somebody or something. Now, that's gonna change your life, right? But like, that's a very different thing, right? Choices such as where you want to travel, you want to take a gap period, which was very frowned upon for the longest time. I
Hmm.
was actually the first one in my family to do the gap year. And I did it because I wanted to live in different places, but also experience. I didn't know what I wanted to, if I wanted to study further, if I wanted to go into the career, right? And that's actually how I landed more towards the marketing, because I realized, oh, I really enjoy this kind of stuff. It's a creative, it's a bit of science, like I like the mix, right? There's psychology into it too. So I found my way because of the gap year. And then because of all the random jobs, like a job I did in Ireland is the reason why I got sponsored for a visa here in Canada, which is the reason why now I'm a permanent resident, right? Like you just never know what it leads to. And sometimes I think we have such a pressure to, you got to figure out your next 5 to 10 years. And I personally think you don't have to. And especially for a bit younger, just think smaller goals. What do you want to do in 12 months? I've had this question before because it's something that I do with my clients. I'm like, okay, where do you want to be in 12 months? Like your vision board. Like what are you putting on your Pinterest? What are you putting on your wall? And I always, like, one of my phrases is, let's turn your vision board into a real life adventure, right? But the
Hmm.
vision board, I want it to be 12 months. And then from there, look, okay, in order to be there 12 months, what do you gotta do within the next 6 months? And in order to do that, what do you gotta do in the next 3 months? And
So you
sometimes it's
design
about,
backwards. You see vision and then you see,
that's
yep,
right.
it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Because our brains are, they get overwhelmed if it's too big to even think about, right? Like thinking about infinite. We can't. We literally can't, right? And especially if you're thinking about new experiences, something your brain hasn't literally doesn't even know what it is yet. You're just going to make yourself more anxious about it, right? Because the first reaction of your brain is to protect you. So it's like, I don't know about this, so I'm just going to make you feel really scared about it. Instead, by dialing it down and having more bite-sized goals and bite-sized steps towards your bigger vision, you first of all don't get overwhelmed, but also your reaction to it, your natural reaction to it is, okay, I can do it. Just focus once at a time, right? And that's how it's possible. And then all of those steps will lead you. And I think if your mind changes in 2 years, it changed. And there's nothing wrong with it. You're a different person.
You're
Life
not
is
going to
maybe,
die. Your
you're not,
family
no,
might still talk to you. Does your
yeah,
family still talk to
right.
you?
Yes.
What I was hearing when you were describing it was all of the yeah buts, right? And I can say from my own experience, in fact, I had a very long-term relationship that we still probably both adore each other, but we didn't end up life partners because he said I had roots. I have a physical company where we make things here in the United States, and I wasn't able to sail the world with them. So yeah, there's sometimes there are circumstances around decisions that you make, but you don't die. Sometimes it's like the fear is like, but I'm going to
Yeah, yeah,
Worst
because you're
case
scared because it
scenarios.
becomes unknown, right? And that's always
Yeah,
scary. But I think like the most important thing is whenever you choose to do something new is just go in there with the thought of like, I want to make the best of it. I don't know how it goes. I'm gonna make the best of it. If I don't like it, I can just like turn right, turn left,
course correct.
go down the bridge. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
there's so many directions. So again, just if that feels right, feel your inner compass. If that feels right and now you want to try it, you want to do it, you want to go somewhere, you want to try a certain career, go for it. Figure out how to do it and try it. And remember, there's a way. I don't want to say back because I feel like you always change from the experiences, but there's a way forward, just like slightly in a different direction. Like in this, I always call it, it's like branches in a tree. You just jump in the next branch like a little squirrel.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's all
So,
it is.
so I am watching the time a little bit, and there's just a couple of things
Yeah.
that I want to make sure that we give our guests before we wrap it up. So, because I hear you saying, do it, like, don't be fearful. You can change your path. And I'm a big believer, like, jump off the cliff, right? um, oh, shoot. And I just lost the thought around that. Darn it. Um, Oh, yes, yes, yes. But the reason that you're in business, right, with our connected world is that you don't have to do it. I want our listeners to really get, yes, jump off the cliff. Don't jump off the cliff by yourself. That's what
Mhm.
I've learned. So that's what's so great about having Robin with our connected world and or every different, world change maker come play with us on second Tuesdays. Be involved so that you have a team, you have someone that has your back. Do you agree, Robin? I was going to ask you to tell a little bit more because you said at the beginning about having help and having support and that you don't. Sometimes I feel like that's another limiting belief. People feel like they have to do it all by themselves. So I was hoping you could speak to that just a teeny bit before we run out of time.
Yeah, no, I really believe in that. I've definitely got a lot of support along there, like looked for support because especially if it's not around you, if it's not, again, those external noises telling you why not, the moment
Mhm.
you put yourself in the room with other people on the same journey, other people who've been there who can support you because they know they've walked the walk, right? That's also how you really see, oh, actually there's a lot of
Mm.
opportunity ahead of
Yeah,
me.
a lot of people have done it before. Why not learn from somebody who I call it fast tracking?
Fast track. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
believe that
I
because
learned a lot of things the hard way. Now I fast track them.
yeah.
I'm like, I can find somebody that's done it. In fact, completely random. I started an Etsy business with like
Oh,
$40. We're in a world where information is available to us. I hired somebody that had a completely different product, different than my own, to write some descriptions for me. And then I hired somebody else for like $20 to give me an hour or $40 to give me an hour of their time and coach me. And I was able to fast track it. So,
um,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because I think like sometimes, I mean, yes, you can Google, you can YouTube, whatever, but especially like understanding how to tailor that to you and your vision
Mhm.
and the business you want to create. I think that was my big struggle at first. And that's why I was like, I need help because I'm also like with a marketing background, a business development background, like the theory was there and I've worked in it, but especially when it's your baby, like I genuinely feel differently. Like I have so much clarity when, like I do audits for businesses or individuals and their, marketing strategy, business strategy. But then it comes to me and sometimes I'm just like, there's so much. And so sometimes it's sure you can Google things, but just having that help to fast track specific also for you and your vision, yes, you're gonna get to your goals much faster.
Awesome. So I have one last ask of you.
Okay.
Okay. So I want you to pretend like our listeners are going to be your client.
Mhm.
And I want you to give them what I call a cinnamon challenge.
Oh,
So I don't know if you remember the ice bucket challenge where people
yes, I do, yeah.
okay. Or the cinnamon challenge was like the spoonful of cinnamon because my name is Cinnamon. I kind of borrowed that.
I love it.
So if we're gonna challenge as in a game, right?
Mhm.
To start to bring a vision or an idea. Hopefully our listeners have been inspired today. What challenge would you give them before they even talk to you to be able to take the inspiration that they got from this conversation and move it forward? What action could they take, right? Because there's a big difference between an idea and then
Mhm.
actually seeing that to fruition. So that's why I want to give a challenge to our listeners.
I love challenges, so you're speaking my language.
Yay.
So my challenge to you is to take 1 hour wherever you want in the next week. Choose a day, choose a place, choose a time. Take 1 hour to actually sit down and think about solely yourself and your life and what you want from life. And I want you to answer 2 questions, or I guess do 3 actions. First
Okay.
of all, do that vision board. I know, like, it actually works. Just have like, do it on Pinterest if you're a digital person. Do it, like, print, like, cut out and put everything that you want to happen in the next 6 months. I'm gonna be very precise here. In the next 6 months, where are you? Who are you in those next 6 months? Second, I want you to write down 5 very important values in your life. And third, I want you to write down 10 things that not only interest you, but you are good at, and see
Uh,
where it goes from there.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I just want to highlight some things that are amazing that you just shared. So I should not be surprised at all. So, in case people are listening, you gave a by when, you gave a deadline. You said you were going to take these 3 actions within the next week, right? So this is not just whenever, you're going to do it
Mhm.
fast. Um, you said create the vision board. Again, you made it time bound, 6 months. That's not very long. Where are you? And I'm guessing, do you recommend that they do this from like present tense? They imagine actually being there, living it like
Yeah,
current. It's six
absolutely.
months in
You
the
are that
future.
person. Yeah, what
Yeah.
life is that?
Yeah.
What
The
you doing?
second one on the values, we actually just did a values workshop.
There you go, perfect.
And in case people don't really, I mean, that exercise in alone, write down your values because we're unique creatures. We have different gifts and different passions. And I think everybody ultimately happiness is having a meaningful, purposeful life. So knowing, like for me, integrity and how you define it. So that was amazing. And then the third one I love too is the strengths, because it goes back to what you originally said in a previous question is, what would people pay you for? And what does the world need? And what do you have to offer? I really believe that if you're asking for something of a relationship, of a business, that it's an exchange. We call our
Yeah.
it's called compensation for a reason. So I love those challenges. I can't thank you enough, Robin, for playing with me and taking that
Thank
on. Like I did not prep Robin, everybody. That was like on the fly there. That's amazing. I will definitely take that on. And you can follow up with me, Robin, to make sure I did that. Or
Yeah.
I'll add to her challenge, find accountability, do this with someone else,
That's a
right?
good one.
Have
Yeah.
this conversation. It's not just a gift for you to get the most out of it, but they will also get inspired and have something come from it from themselves. Do you agree,
Yeah.
Robin?
I 100% agree,
You're
Sama.
not in the world alone. So I just want to thank you, Robin, and I want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another inspiring episode of the World Changemaker podcast. If you did enjoy the conversation and anything resonated with you, if you could please do us a favor and take a moment to subscribe, leave us a review. You can find us at worldchangemaker.com, and you can find Robin, your website. I have it here at ourconnectedworld.ca for Canada,
Yeah,
correct?
that's right.
Excellent. And until next time, thank you for making the difference that you do. And we'll catch you here at the World Changemaker podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.